Hello and welcome to the Editing Podcast. We've put together a series of bonus episodes called Point of View, in which we talk directly to authors about their editing and indie publishing experiences.
Yes, and this interview is with Kia Thomas, a fiction editor who's also written a novelette called Wings. We spoke to her at the Atomicon Digital Marketing Conference in March 2019, and we chatted about her self-publishing journey and what it was like for an editor to be edited.
So we're here with Kia Thomas, editor and fiction author.
Hi.
And Kia's going to tell us about her indie publishing experience because, I think both of us are really interested in talking to you, Kia, because you've been in the rare position of being able to bring all your editing experience into the process of your writing. So first of all, tell us what your book's called.
My book is called Wings, and it's a very, very short novelette about a girl who finds a bird, basically.
A girl who finds a bird. And what kind of genre?
Feminism. It's literary fiction.
Literary fiction?
Yes.
Okay. And is that something that you edit as well?
I do a little. I edit a little bit of literary fiction, but I specialise in romance, mainly.
Okay.
Was it a conscious decision to write in a genre that's different from the one that you edit in?
Not really. I actually started writing it a very, very, very long time ago, like long before I started editing.
Do you want to be a bit more specific?
5 or 6 years ago I started writing it, and I published it last year.
Yeah.
I'm a very slow writer, and apparently when it comes to my own work, I'm a very, very slow editor. I can edit somebody else's novel in 2 weeks, but my own 15,000 words took several years. So I just wrote whatever I felt like writing, really, and then when I started editing, I kind of fell into romance. And I do read a lot of romance, and I love it, but to write, I think literary fiction is what I am attempting to write a romance as well, but that's not going quite as well.
And so when you'd written your first draft, you're a developmental editor, so unlike Denise and I, who specialise in line work, I know you do line work as well, but were you able to bring your skills as an editor into the revision process at the beginning once you'd finished your first draft?
Again, the first draft was finished long before I became an editor. No, actually, I think I needed other help, definitely. I think I can line edit my own work to a decent standard. I can copy edit my own work to a fairly decent standard. But the developmental work, I really did need somebody's opinion there.
You needed someone to just step back.
When I first actually wrote it, it was one scene. It was just a scene that had been floating in my head for quite a while, and I wrote it down and I sent it to a friend, and she said, "This is great, I want more of this." And I thought, more? There's more?
There's more than
and so I wrote more, and then I've had some really close friends, and my sister gave me great quality feedback to say, no, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. Because I think whether you hire a professional development editor or not, you need other feedback on your story. You can't see how your own story is working because it's in you, it's too close to you, it's part of you. And you know everything that came out. You know the backstory of all your characters, but you can't tell that hasn't made it into your writing. I am a very, very sort of sparse, read between the lines kind of writer, and it took my sister to go, "What happened to this guy, this character? Like, he just disappeared. Was he dead?" I'm like, "Oh no! Did you think he was dead?"
So you needed someone with fresh eyes to come into that at story level and say to you, "This isn't as clear to me as it is to you."
Definitely, you need that distance.
So when did that happen, that process? Did that happen more recently to the other editing you later went on to do and hire externals for, or did that happen like quite soon after the initial writing process some years ago?
It all happened so slowly. It's a bit difficult to remember.
It's been a journey.
It's definitely been a journey. I put it away for a long time. I wrote sort of what would probably be the first draft, and then I put it away for a long time. And I had a little bit of a gap actually between when I left my last job and when I started editing, and I did do quite a lot of work on it then. And I think it was probably after that I got the most feedback on it, and I started restructuring it. Because it was quite short. I had the whole thing printed out, each chapter on separate pages, and I was literally like with the pieces of paper on the floor, like moving them around and seeing where things should go and seeing where the gaps were. And yeah, so I think I was quite early on in my editing career when I hadn't done much developmental editing. So
Okay.
maybe I learned how to developmental edit from my own
Your
work,
own writing
really,
experience. And then did you hire, did you work with a third-party line editor or copy editor or proofreader?
I hired a copy editor at the very end, who is someone I know she's a non-fiction editor actually, and she was looking to move into fiction, so I kind of traded editing favours with her. She used it as a bit of a mentoring experience because I had quite a lot of experience by this point, and she did a great job actually of because even though I had worked on it for years and years and I'm a good editor, there were still stupid things in there, like he shook his head to clear the thought from his head. And, my editor was like, did you know that you have the sun on her skin about 15 times?
You can't hear your own writer tics though, can you?
Can't
That's
hear
such a
it
thing.
at all.
I think that's a really valuable thing for our indie author listeners to hear, that because I think there's a lot of misconceptions around how well you can self-edit your own material, and I think, like you said, there are certain levels of editing that you can probably do really well, and that will vary between different authors.
Yeah.
But for most people, there's going to be one aspect of it that they need external help on.
Yeah,
and for some, it might be developmental editing. Some, like for you, it was really more like you brought in a copy editor later on.
And even a professional editor, when they're
Yeah.
writing, that's a different hat she was wearing,
Completely.
and so you couldn't provide yourself with the same level of quality that you could for your own
Absolutely
authors.
not.
That's
And
really
it
interesting.
definitely depends on the work as well. Like I've just done a short story, and there are no typos in that, none whatsoever, because it's very easy to keep track of the mechanics and even your story stuff on a short basis.
Yeah.
But this novelette was only 15,000 words, and there was repetition, there were tics, and I
Yeah.
could not see them at all.
Yeah, there's a big difference between 500 words
Yeah.
and
Definitely.
15,000.
And so if you're thinking about you might write a romance novel next.
Yes, I've written about 25,000 words so far.
Oh,
from
so
a
you've
Oh,
read
that's
a big
big.
chunk of it
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
So do you think you will approach the editing differently this time round, or did the process work well for you last time?
I'm approaching the whole thing differently this time. I'm trying. I think the reason why I took so long over the other one, and the other thing that I've been writing for several years as well, is I am very critical. Obviously, as an editor, you're very, very critical of writing. And I think I was actually editing a lot in my head before it got down on paper, and then editing as I went. And that's a really good way to kill your flow and to stop you actually writing. So I'm now consciously trying to just let myself write rubbish. Like, it doesn't matter if this sentence isn't right, it doesn't matter. You're just going to keep moving, get the story out.
Yeah.
So have you planned, have you outlined, or are you a bit of a pantser?
I am a pantser, but it's not. This is why I've struggled to write whole novels. I initially thought Wings was going to be a novel, and it got nowhere near it. I have an idea, and I have a theme, and I always know where it starts, and I always know where it ends, and I'm never quite sure how
you're
to
going to get
there.
there.
So that's what's happened with this one at the minute. I'm at the point now where I'm like, I don't quite know what to do next. So I'm trying to plan it out a little bit more, but then sometimes if I plan it in too much detail, I feel like I've written it, and then I never get around to actually writing it.
I read an interview with, or something online by Harlan Coben, the mystery writer, and he was talking about how he does that. He knows where point A is and he knows where point B is, but how he gets from A to B is just a thing. So you're in great company.
Oh, that's good. He seems to write a little bit faster than I do, though.
Well, just
Speed isn't everything.
no, that's right. Anyway, he has a different day job to you.
Yes, that is true. That is a thing, actually. Having the day job does also make it quite hard to write, because you've spent all day at your computer dealing with other people's words. Sometimes it's then hard to go, now I'll sit here for another couple of hours.
Quite a switch of mindset, I would think, really, to get out of the editing head and into the writing head.
Definitely.
They
I
are
mean,
two really
when you've written, Louise, do you do them in? Can you divide that quite easily, or do you find that you do it on different days or something like that?
Not my non-fiction, but the forays into fiction, I haven't done them on different days, but I have very much done them in different spaces and at times. Like, I always write my fiction in the evening, and the environment's very different. I do switch off. Like here, I feel I'm wearing a very, very different hat.
Yeah.
Kia, how did it feel being edited?
It was really nerve-wracking. It was really strange. I was like, this was my baby that I'd worked on for so long, and I was sending it off to somebody else. It was somebody who I trusted very much, but even then it was very nerve-wracking to see what they would find and what they would do with it. And when it came back, it turns out I'm one of those writers who's very precious.
Really?
My editor was like, are you sure you want to use this word? This doesn't maybe... I was like, no, I want to use that word, so I will use that word.
Oh my God, nightmare.
Yes, I am that. Do not mess with my voice author. But every author is different. You get some who don't have a great sense of their voice and are perfectly happy for you to help them find it.
Yeah,
definitely.
But you get other clients who are that more, I've worked on I've put every word there with purpose, and I just want you to tell me whether they're correct or not correct.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's really important actually as an author to go through that journey of understanding kind of what you need, and if as you said, like it turns out that you are a bit precious, but at least you can have that conversation with your editorial team so that people know where they are on the page and what's expected, because it is all about expectations. It's not about right and wrong.
Definitely. So we've asked all of our interviewees that we've been speaking to today about the one piece of advice that they would give to other authors about the editing or writing process. What would you say your one big sort of takeaway be?
I don't know. I'm not sure I'm experienced enough as an author to be giving out advice about it. But I think probably that thing of you need somebody else's eyes on it, because that's what I always tell my clients as well. Like, I don't like being the first other person other than an author to see the manuscript, because there will almost certainly be huge things in it that they haven't spotted. And I think you need that. And obviously, if you're writing and you're getting it edited, presumably you plan to publish it and want other people to read it, so you might as well get some people to do that before you send it to an editor.
A manuscript to work on and nobody had looked at it before, would you tell them it wasn't ready for you to look at?
I would not necessarily, because some people, I know a lot of editors would refuse, but I think it's sometimes very difficult for authors to get quality feedback. And so sometimes, if they're willing to pay me for that quality feedback, then that's, then that's fine. I'll work with them on that. But I think both parties need to be aware that's a lot more work. That's, that's going to be that's not just checking for typos. That's going to be a very intensive, almost, sometimes it's a pull this apart and put it back together again kind of process. If that's what the author, if that's the only place the author can get that kind of help and feedback, then that's
but it does come back to having a team round about
it.
It
does,
it?
And I've certainly had authors who have said, no, I'm happy with the structural, the story level element of the work. I don't want to invest in that. And actually, with hindsight, I think they probably would have benefited from it. But it's been understood what we're both bringing to the table, and so I'm not the editor who will refuse it. So I think kind of you and I are on the same page there, Kia.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else you want to ask our lovely Kia?
I don't think so.
No?
Thanks so much, Kia.
Right, thank you for having me.
Very welcome. And we'll put links to your
yes.
in the show notes.
Thank you. Bargain price of 99p for the ebook.
Oh, well,
There you go.
Who could refuse that? Thanks again, Kia.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this author point of view. Thank you so much for listening to the Editing Podcast. You can rate, review and subscribe via your podcatcher.
And don't forget to share. Tell your writer friends, your editor friends, your business friends, basically anyone who writes.
And if you have any questions, please do get in touch with us via the Editing Podcast Facebook page. If you ask us, we promise we'll answer.
And we've put all the links mentioned in today's interview in the show notes so you can grab everything there.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.